Campus protest, live update. Pro-Palestinian students occupy Columbia University Hamilton Hall building. The elite university has begun suspending students who fail to leave their pro-Palestinian encampment by the university 2 p.m. deadline. Human chains blocking entrance to Hamilton Hall. Protesters form a human chain outside of Hamilton Hall, which was occupied after midnight today. As the crowd sang, "We shall not be moved." Student protesters have organized themselves into platoons based on how willing they are to be arrested. One student on campus who asked not to be named for fear of reprisal told NBC News earlier today. The groups are called Red Rose and Yellow Rose. University staff grapple with protesters inside Hamilton Hall. A maintenance worker confronts demonstrators attempting to barricade themselves inside Hamilton Hall at Columbia University in New York City in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Students protest group confirms Hamilton Hall occupation, warns authorities against using force. A student protest group at Columbia confirms its members had reclaimed the Hamilton Hall building just after midnight and would continue there until Columbia concedes to the movement's demands, which includes cutting ties with Israeli institutions. Columbia University's authors diverse says on X, liberators acting in solidarity with Palestinians continue to hold themselves to a higher standard than Columbia. The statement addressed Columbia's administrators and trustees and referenced deadly crackdowns on anti-Vietnam War rallies, warning them not to incite another Kent or Jackson state by bringing soldiers and police officers with weapons onto our campus. Students, blood will be on your hands. Protesters renamed Hamilton Hall as Hands Halls after slain 6-year-old Palestinian girl. Protesters at Columbia University stormed a building on campus overnight, renaming the historic Hamilton Hall as Hens Hall in honors of Hen Rajad, the 6-year-old girl who was killed in Israel offensive in Gaza after begging first responders to save her life in harrowing calls later published online. Hen's story sparked outrage around the world earlier this year after she was found dead in a vehicle in Gaza City with several of her loved ones who were also killed. She had been missing for 12 days after pleading with the first responders to save her, with a phone call responding showing a frightened Hinge imploring rescuers to come take me. "Please, will you come?" Her mother told NBC News of her devastation after her daughter's bodies were found in February. The remains of 2 paramedics dispatched to save her were also found in a burnt-out ambulance nearby. Columbia's protesters break windows and occupy Hamilton Hall, fly Palestinian flag. Dozens of protesters gained entry to Columbia University historic Hamilton Hall in the early hours of this morning, smashing windows and flying pro-Palestinian flags from the windows. Protesters invoked the famous anti-Vietnam War protests of 1968 when students occupied the same hall. "Let's finish what they did in 1968," one said. "This building is now being liberated," said another. Protesters unfurled a handmade flag declaring they had renamed it Hens Hall in honor of a 6-year-old Hen Rajad who was found dead in Gaza in February. Protesters break windows at Columbia University hours after school starts suspending students demonstrators. Protesters of Columbia University broke windows at the Manhattan campus Hamilton Hall earlier Tuesday, hours after the school began suspending students who defied a deadline to leave a pro-Palestinian camp set up to protest the war in Gaza. NBC News could not confirm how many people were inside Hamilton Hall, but the university students' newspapers, the Columbia Spectators, reported that dozens of protesters had occupied the building.